Have you ever realized 30 minutes into watching a movie that you don't enjoy it, but continue to watch it anyway? This is because of the sunk cost fallacy. We continue wasting our time on a boring movie since we have already invested 30 minutes of our time into it. In the field of behavioral economics, a sunk cost is an expense that will not be refunded or recovered. The sunk cost fallacy, or sunk cost effect, can be thought of as throwing good money after bad. You have a sunk cost you cannot recover, but you nonetheless spend more money in hopes of recouping the lost sum. By refusing to cut your losses, you create an escalation of commitment where the only way to tackle a bad situation is to invest in it further. The sunk cost fallacy can steer you far from rational decisions in a desperate attempt to make the most of an unfortunate initial decision. A common example of a sunk cost fallacy involves buying a car. Say you buy a used car that turns out to be a lemon. Should you put more money into the car to get it working properly, or should you cut your losses, discard the car, and move on? In situations like this, it can be easy to slip into the sunk cost fallacy, sinking even more money into a bad investment. The sunk cost fallacy can easily be overcome with mindful, dedicated, and thoughtful planning. Number 1. Frame the problem. The root of decision-making must start with a very specific problem that needs to be solved. This problem should be the central focal point of discussion and should drive all actions. Number 2. Remain independent. When people become emotionally invested in business decisions, they may lose sight into what is really happening. Instead of relying on data, they have an unrealistically optimistic outlook on their poor decision. Be mindful that unsuccessful projects don't always reflect the decision maker, and ultimately making the right decision is what should matter most. Number 3. Change risk preference. By becoming more accepting of risk and not being consumed by risk aversion, investors can more easily come to terms that it is okay to have incurred sunk costs that will never be recoverable and stop investing further.